but I wasn't one of the stars of the sport. I was kind of thereabouts, and I made the world team a couple times, and when I wasn't getting in fights and being suspended,
Oh.
I got a chance to race. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just quickly, as I said, you peripheral Google of you. I'm like, Jonathan Baker suspended for 3 months in 2009. An incident with. Do I say what happened, or do you want to just go through?
I'll tell the story.
Okay, good.
I'm just curious. Is it still on the first page of Google, or is now maybe it's pushed to the second?
I don't.
That was like 10 years ago.
It had to have been the first page, because that's all the research I did. Welcome to the Between Two Wheels podcast, another great edition. Jonathan Baker with us today. Jonathan, how you doing? And thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. It's been a busy week, managing all this newfound fame and not fortune between my regular job and family and everything. So, this is probably not new to you. I mean, if you just Google your name and cycling or cyclocross, all kinds of articles come up. Your own Nevada City, but we can talk about, especially the gravel situation, and kind of, this whole COVID-19 and whether that should have happened or not. But first of all, how are you doing and dealing with this whole situation? My understanding, just doing a little bit of precursor analysis from you, is you work from home generally? Is that remotely? I'm so fortunate. I have a remote job in the education industry, and it's funded by the state of California. So I'm in a pretty stable situation. My wife works remotely for a healthcare company.
Oh yeah.
So we've just got kind of a little enclave here, and we're just hunkered down and trying to make the most out of it right now.
Yeah, that's good. My wife works healthcare company as well. She's works from home, so she's dialed in. The courts are closed, so I'm dealing with what it is. So I'm riding more. That's kind of the result. Are you getting out enough, at least for some bike riding?
I got on a ride today, and I didn't see hardly anybody. And I got my gravel bike out, put some extra fat tires on it, and went super deep into the remote woods. So, I think that's almost what we've got these days. Is I'm talking to my team. I have this gravel team I'm on, Rodeo Labs, Pro Gravel. Talking to a bunch of guys, like, what's our plan now? What are we doing for the season? And some of them are planning some big bike packing trips, different ways to just sort of get the brand out there and represent, because all the events are canceled or postponed at this point.
Right. So I mean, you can still. I talked to Tyler Williams, and he's kind of saying the same thing in a different aspect, but getting kind of personal sponsorships and promoting them. That's kind of the gravel aspect. But my thinking is also, one of the vital places that can still be is, bike shops, they're saying, because people are getting out and riding. So, bikes industry, as long as people are still able to possibly work.
Well, I think the bike shops are closed, at least here in California. I don't think they made the list of essential services. So
I heard that this morning that they did.
Really? Now, okay. That's news to me. I was feeling lucky. I got my bike in that was completely destroyed by the Midsouth race. I got it into the shop early this week, and they turned it around in Nevada, Tour Nevada City, kind of legendary bike shop here in town.
Yeah.
Fixed me all up. But yeah, I was worried the shops were going to close, and I'm like, I'm wrenching my bike quite a bit anyway, but I'm lazy in that respect, and I don't.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And you don't do your own work?
I do a lot of it, but I'm so time crunched now that I'm happy to spend my money on the local economy to have them do it when I can.
Right. It's always a cost analysis of my work, priorities over doing that.
Yeah.
I try to do all my own bike work, so stay away from me during a race, because I could just fall apart.
Well, this thing was on life support. I mean, I came back to the shop, and they were all kind of laughing. Like, every time they pulled a new component off, like, some muddy water would come out of the frame, and the pulley wheels it was like a ninja star, There was some insane devastation there.
What bike is that? Is that new? Is that the new bike you got?
This is the Trail Donkey 3.0. Okay. It's by this company, Rodeo Labs.
Okay.
They're based out of Denver.
and it's a carbon frame, and they kind of bill it as like a do-it-all trail bike. But we took it to a race and we raced it, and that was kind of a big thing for the company because their kind of client base hadn't really seen it in that performance level, because it's got 6 bottle mounts, and it's like something you could take out on a month-long bikepacking adventure. But kind of we showed that you could take it to the Mid-South and you could race on the thing and also do really well. So
it's not specific for gravel, is more a bike adventure.
It's a gravel bike. It's a purpose-built gravel bike for sure. But it's very versatile in that it has all those kind of bells and whistles that you can do in a kind of a bikepacking adventure ride sort of on it.
Gotcha. So I do want to talk about the Mid-South, because that's the biggest, and especially the dirt covered face. I saw that, was it Sunday morning, or, it came off, and some people were sending it around, and it looked awesome. But in case someone doesn't really know who the famous John Baker is, why don't we step back a little bit and talk about kind of who you are as far as a bike racer, and get some of that under our belt, and then let's go right into the and we're going to talk about the Mid-South, because I don't know if it's controverscy, but I've been seeing online like, hey, maybe it shouldn't have taken place, and obviously you went. So be interested to hear your point of view on that. Well, let's talk about
a story there.
Do you want to? Maybe we should jump in right there so we don't forget about it.
Let me do my intro. We'll circle back. So
okay. Who is John and all your exploits? I can name a few of them, but you probably know them better than me.
Well, I'm just kind of an average guy who got into bike racing a little late in life. I think I entered my first race when I was 26.
Oh.
Cat 5 crit, and I wound up winning that. And
where was that at?
That was do you remember the old Solano bicycle classic? It was a stage race.
Yeah.
And they had an amateur crit on the last day. And I'd done some mountain biking leading up into that, and I was living in the Bay Area, and I saw it out there, and I'm like, oh, let's try this road thing. And I had early success, so I won a Timex watch from that event, and it's all just been gravy since then.
Do you have the watch still?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I would hope that.
Yeah. So I mean, some highlights for me. I was, I've always had a job. I've never been a full-time pro. I've been lucky enough that my family has supported me in my adventures, and they have adventurous spirit, and in that they've followed me over to Europe and done pro cyclocross for a couple seasons over there. Right. This is back in the late aughts. I think that's where I had my most success kind of internationally, if you consider finishing on the lead lap success. Well, but those Euros are pretty fast. So I did that for a while, and then I got to my mid-30s, and we got to a point where we're kind of got a little burnt out on racing and stepped away for a long time. And this was from like 2010 to 2015. I didn't even touch a bike hardly. I put on 50 pounds and was kind of an amateur disc golfer.
Several of your competitors wish you were still back there at 50 pounds plus.
Yeah. So the whole time I was like, I did road, I did cyclocross. I was just passionate about racing. I love the competitive aspect, and now this whole gravel thing comes along, and it's like it combines those two disciplines, and it's like, where was this 15 years ago? I could have been a rock star if they had gravel back when I was young. And,
right. Well, you are now still.
So yeah, now I just mostly do masters racing, and then I've been dabbling in this gravel thing, and some of my friends from Colorado, because I lived there for a long time. I talked to them last summer when I was out there for the national championships, and they were putting together this gravel team, and we kind of had a conversation about me joining the team, and they did all the legwork, and they put together a bunch of great sponsors, between nutrition and bikes and clothing and components. So now that's where this whole Mid-South thing came about. Was I was able to join this team and have a great tool to go out there and race on. So,
well, so you're just glossing over a few details here. Let's say so. 2017 hill climb national champion, right? And just on the road, right?
Yeah, okay. That's true. So,
2019 last year, you destroyed everyone at Road Nats out in Colorado Springs, and then won Nats for cross same year.
Let's qualify that. That's for old guys. It's old guys.
That's masters. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I mean.
Right.
You know, it's like nobody, you know, the masters know me.
Right.
You know me because you're my peer, but you know, you talk to these young kids and you know, I wasn't on anybody's radar for this thing. So
But we can go back. Even
Yeah.
I know you won Nats for cross, right? In the late 2009ish, 10 or so.
I won. That was
Masters.
I did. Yeah, it was the younger age group, the 35s. I went back to back up in Bend in I think 2010 and 2011. But you know, before that,
you were
I was
racing pro though, right? With
I was a
cross?
top 10. I was a solid top 10 guy in the national calendar for the pros. You know, had a few wins, had a few UCI wins. So, you know, but I wasn't one of the stars of the sport. I was kind of thereabouts, and you know, I made the world team a couple times. And when I wasn't getting in fights and being suspended, I got a chance to race. So
I'm glad you brought that up because I just quickly, as I said, you peripheral Google of you. I'm like, Jonathan Baker suspended for 3 months in 2009. An incident with. Do I say what happened, or do you want to just go through?
I'll tell the story.
Okay, good.
I'm just curious. Is it still on the first page of Google, or is now maybe it's pushed to the second?
I don't.
That was like 10 years ago.
It had to have been the first page because that's all the research I did.
So, long story short, Kansas City, 2009. I think I was living in Belgium for the season, but I came back to the States to do nationals. And first lap, I crash. Adam Myserson crashes into me after I crash. It was totally my fault, the first crash. Our bikes are caught together, and there's a little kind of tussle, get the bikes apart. And I felt that he gave me a push at one point, maybe called me a couple names. So I took a swing at him, glanced off his helmet. Normally, I mean, that's not really acceptable behavior, but, you know, normally you wouldn't see a huge repercussion from that. But there was like hundreds of people there, and you know, kind of bubbled up to USA Cycling, and they wound up giving me a 3-month suspension for that, but I accepted, and that kind of ended my season. So,
any bad blood with you and Adam, or
you know, I didn't really talk to him because I was kind of out of the sport for a long time, but he was the defending champ out here in Tacoma for the 45 plus cyclocross, and I got a chance to speak with him afterwards, and you know, we hugged at the finish line and said, "Hey, you know, these are our younger selves are behind us, and we're friends now." So there's no bad blood at all. Yeah.
Oh well, that's I guess that's good, but for the podcast, we kind of like a little drama. But yeah. So why don't you talk about? You said you had some good stories about going out to Oklahoma. Yeah, Stillwater. Is that right?
Stillwater. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Let me ask you this. Had you ever done, I know you came into cycling a little bit later, but did you ever done like the 89er stage race? Did you ever get a chance to do that as a roadie?
I hadn't heard of that one. No.
Oh, well, that's how old I am.
Okay.
I used to be a big race. It used to be a big race in Norman that we would do.
I did the tour of Lawrence, Kansas. That was probably the biggest thing I did. And then those Tulsa Toughs, I raced those a couple seasons, driving from Colorado, back in my kind of pro road days. But
you know, your suspension doesn't sound all that. You know, a few years ago, I think it was Roberto Gaggioli at Athens there was an accusation where he came after someone with a 2x4. I mean, that's not during the race, obviously. That's a little bit more. I don't even remember if they got a suspension, but
that was Johnny Sant that he hit him.
Okay.
He made contact from what I heard.
Yeah. I know there was some discrepancy and all that. So, okay, let's go to Stillwater. So you get this race lined up with your new team, and first, talk to me a little bit about the gravel, because I've never done race on gravel. Is it somewhat team oriented, or is it very much solo, more mountain bike like?
The model is evolving. So let's just say that. So right now, gravel is kind of the hot thing, and people are trying to figure out what the sponsorship model is going to be. Up to this point, it's been mostly kind of privateers doing, where they've kind of grouped together some sponsors and they're doing the social media thing, and they're promoting the sponsors through their social media and stuff like that. There hasn't been kind of a team thing.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have this team that approached me, that they were kind of bringing those sponsors together, because otherwise I don't have time for this. You know, I got a full-time job. You know, I don't have time to go chasing down sponsors. I mean, for me, it would just be like, I'm going to just take my bike and I'm going to enter this thing and see what happens.
Right.
So it was really nice to have a team structure behind it. I think we've got 9 people on our team. We have a couple